Hello everyone, my name's Paul Jennings, and right here we are in the very room where the piping show comes together. This is the editing suite in the National Piping Centre. And in this week's show, I'm delighted that we're going to be hearing from Bob McFie, who has been playing pipes since he was a wee lad in the 1930s. A fantastic gentleman with lots of stories, lots of history. He's been involved in piping since, as I say, the 1930s, all the way through the Second World War, where he served in the army. And he's going to be chatting with Jamie Curran, who is our very own shop manager here. And it's a fantastic interview. It's a bit of a long one, but you know, we couldn't fit nine decades of information and stories into a short episode. So please, as we say all the time in the show, like the video and subscribe to the channel. It really does help us reach more people and exposes our videos and our content to the wider world, not just the piping world, but the wider world. So thanks so much for doing that. Enjoy the show. Right now we'll go to Helen Urquhart for this week's news.
On Saturday the 22nd of October, the World Solo Drumming Championship took place at Caledonian University. Stephen McWhirter of Inveraray District Pipe Band won his 10th straight event and 11th title overall. On Saturday the 29th of October, the Graham Johnson Memorial Competition took place at the National Piping Centre, Otago Street. This event was run by the Glasgow West of Scotland branch of the RSPBA. The younger section, which was sponsored by McCallum Bagpipes, was won by Fraser Hamilton. The older section, which was sponsored by Wallace Bagpipes, was won by Andrew Pattison. Also taking place this Saturday was the Glenfiddich Piping Championships at Blair Castle in Perthshire. Willie McCallum won his 9th overall title. It's been 17 years since he last won this accolade as well. The Peawick event was won by Callum Beaumont. Thank you to everyone who tuned in to watch the live stream or attended in person. If you would like to catch the live stream, it's available to rewatch until this Sunday, the 6th of November. You can buy tickets or log in with previously purchased tickets over at www.thepipingcentre.co.uk/Glenfiddich. Coming up this week in piping, on Saturday the 4th of November, the Scottish Piping Society of London has their annual competition, which takes place at the Caledonian Club. You can go along and watch throughout the day.
Bob, tell us where your piping journey started.
It started in the party, Glasgow. I was going to say the first time I ever held a chanter was when I was 6, but it was earlier than that. I played about my father's chanter. He was a very good piper. And about this time, 90 years ago, I was just thinking about that coming here. Thank God. Anyway, someone had made a chanter about that size. They weren't commercially available, and it was one of his mates had produced this, and I learned to play the chanter.
And who started you off?
My father.
Your dad?
My father was cracking up a pipe, actually, you know, but he didn't like teaching me. He wanted someone else to do it,
right?
Obviously. Anyway, I took to this without any more. Some of people in our family are very musical, very talented. I have a cousin who won the London Royal Academy gold medal when she was 16, playing the piano and singing. Anyway, me, my father got a mate of his who was a pipe major at the Kenning Park at the time, Harry McIntyre, to give me lessons. And Harry was a professional piper. Played competitions, won a lot of money, and he gave me a hard time, I can tell you. But 1935, right? 1935. I was 9. At that time, kids in Glasgow were pretty unruly. Nobody was working, so kids did what they liked, more or less. Now, in attempts to get kids involved in things, one of them was they had a piping contest for juveniles. And I have to point out, juveniles in those days, unlike today, where they have under 12s, under 14s, and you know all that, you were under 18, you played the competition. I played the competition. It was open to the youth services, the Boys Brigade, the Boy Scouts, the Army Cadets, the Jewish Lads Brigade, and whoever else. I wasn't in the Scouts, I was in the Cubs. I was 9.
Right.
The judge was a guy called Robert Reid. Now, people have seen photographs of Robert Reid, a real hard-faced guy. I was terrified of this guy. I'd seen him when he wasn't a friend of my father's or anything like that. They knew each other. Anyway, he was a judge, and I played, and he was announcing the results, and the whole lot went like this, and said, first, Paul McFie. I was 9, and I'm playing against guys who were 17-year-olds. And I wished to see Paul McFie in that office immediately after this presentation ceremony is finished. And I'm absolutely terrified by it. So I'm at the shaking stage. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I go into this lot and he says, sit down. I'm that size, remember. And the wee legs dangling, you know, they still dangle, but not even more in those days. What's your name? And I said, Robert, I tried to speak. Robert McFie, Mr. Reid. What junior did you play? And I said, that's silly, I told him what I played. And I told him. And he said, how many parts did you play? I said, I played 6 parts, Mr. Reid. Why did you play 6 parts? Now remember, this is this hard-faced guy. I never saw him smile or anything. And I said, I always play 6 parts, Mr. Because in those days you did. A lot of 2 4s and 6 parts. And he said, well, what if you'd made a mistake in the 5th or 6th part? And without thinking, I said, my father would have knocked my head off. And he tried not to laugh. And then when he subsided, he said, will you take a piece of advice? I said, yes, Mr. Reid. I'm still stuttering because I'm frightened. Don't ever do any more than you have to. If it says play 6 parts, play 6 parts. If it doesn't say 6 parts, play 4. Okay? Yes, Mr. Reid. Okay, scram, and I run for my life. One of the best pieces of advice I've ever got in my life. There's been other competitions, but the next one, I was 10. Well, geez, oh, that size now, you know. And it was in the Highlands Institute, and I was in the Glasgow Shepherds by this time, and we were all down in the basement playing football. And you've heard stories about the rolled up newspaper with the stripe, but that's what we were playing with. Now, I was by far the youngest in the Shepherds at that time, but I got stuck in longer and another, and booting each other. And my father arrived, a big guy, and he said, where's your pipes? I said, they're upstairs. Well, you better go and get it. And I said, wait a minute, my competition's not on for yeah, right. You don't argue with my old man.
No.
Upstairs, got a pipe. It turned out there was a free competition, an amateur competition. Free. You didn't have to pay any money to get into it. And it was a jig competition. I played 6 parts of the jigsaws. Results. First, Robert Hardy. You know this guy?
Yeah, famous piper.
Second, Anne McVie. And I went up to collect my plants. And it was a practice chanter with an ivory and soul and feather and stuff. And I come off the stage, and this big man in the 3rd row said, come here, young Robert, I want to see what you've won. It was John MacDonald, who was the pipe major of the Glasgow Police.
Yeah.
And he took it to pieces and looked through it. He says, well, they weren't throwing it away anyway. You put that in your pipe box and it'll last you a long time. I've still got it.
So it seems as though from a young age you were maybe destined to be quite a successful piper.
Well, this is the thing. Somebody said to me that I was a child prodigy.
Yes,
I
that's a
didn't
good
know
term.
about prodigy, man. I thought it was a swear word. Well, it so happens I was pretty good at it. You know, I was pretty good. I must have been. Anyway, about that time, I started going to Peter MacLeod, old Peter.
Senior.
I'll tell you about that. This is something interesting, I think. I was 10, thereabouts. And we stayed in Partick about a quarter mile from where the MacLeod stayed. They stayed next to Drive. It was teeming of rain, big heavy pipe case, and I'm on a wee lad, where my mother gave me a halfpenny for the tram car, so that I can get down there and drive. Anyway, at the time the tram car came, I was soaked. By the time I got off the tram car and walked across the road to Exeter Drive, I was right through the underwear, you know, because it was really heavy. And I looked 10 Exeter Drive. I'd never been in a house with a front door in the main street. I said, maybe I made a mistake. So I went in close, there on the door at MacLeod. So I knocked the door. And the door opened and Mrs. MacLeod said, good gracious, here this is my wee Peter. She was of a tutor disposition. Come in. So I get in, took off my jacket, up the pulley, I'm in the kitchen, towel, dried all my hair, and old Peter arrived and said, time you were with me, Robert. He was a bit of a tutor, but, and she said, you leave that boy alone till I'm finished with him. Sit there, Robert. So I sat at the big kitchen table. She brought a bowl of soup. Now don't touch that till I tell you. The way she went to back with cream in a jug, poured the cream into the soup.
Well, that would have been like a luxury back then.
This is 1935, 36. Nobody up our street was working. No, that's not true. One guy played goalie for Hamilton Accies, another road inside right for East Fife. And the guy at the top of the street was a postman. The rest were on the Barroo, as it was known as.
Yeah.
So there wasn't an awful lot to do. And I got this soup with cream in it, summer winter. Now it was about this time of year and it was quite cold and it was great. But when it came to June, July, August, the sweat was running up, the diary fused and no, I didn't get life.
How did you, well, two things. How long did you go to Peter for lessons, and what were the lessons like? What would a typical lesson be like?
Well, old Peter had only one leg, and he had a blackthorn stick which used to wallop me with.
Right.
I don't mean like that, I get whacked with it.
Right.
And all the other kids, they got their lessons in the front room. I didn't. I got mine in the kitchen. That's how I got to know Dora MacLeod, Gina MacLeod, Chrissy MacLeod, Hector MacLeod, and of course Peter was a friend of the family's. And I met Ian, that was the youngest brother, who was a piper. I was a good piper, but not the same class as his brother. And the fire would be there, old Peter would be sitting over there with this stick in this hand. There's the fire, and I'm sitting over there with the wee legs dangling. And in those days you wore short trousers, and if I made a mistake, you get whacked with this lucky stick, and we sit and smoking the pipe. And I remember, he started me off in Peter pretty early.
So was that a norm back then? So nowadays it's kind of more popular to start with the light music. Did you start with the P-Brew?
That's right.
Right.
Anyway, he thought I was good enough for this, and he said, now and then, Robert, play the Thum variation. And being a wee Glasgow hooligan, I said, the what? And he said, the Thum variation. The thumb variation? No, I didn't even get that far. I said, what's the Thum variation? He said, I told you 2 weeks ago. I couldn't remember what I had for my dinner that day or anything else. But once I realised instead of playing F, she played high. And it went on from there. Now I have to say something else. I was in the Scouts, the 44th Glasgow. Well, I was in the Cubs actually. And one of my mates in that was Norman McConaughey. And his father was the Joe McConaughey, very famous man. He was the conductor of the Glasgow Gaelic Choir. And Norrie got me to join the junior choir. And there was a boy in the choir called John McFadden.
Yeah.
a big lad who used to knock his kids about. He was a couple of years old. And a boy who lived in Care Drive called him McCooey said, "We'll need give him a doing." Took 6 of us.
There was no messing that back then, was there?
And he would leave us alone for about a fortnight every week. Anyway, I'd been in the choir for a while, and we used to practice in Hillhead High School just across here. My father said, "You're going for an audition in the Glasgow Shepherds," and it was Archie McFadden who was the pipe major. What a guy, wow. And I went, and they held the practices in the Shepherd's insurance office in Bath Street. He stood round desks, he didn't master down in it.
Yeah.
And a guy that was already there was John McFadden.
Yeah.
Now we became rivals, over a long period of time. And I'll tell you about a competition I played in with him. This was in Paisley. Now this was before the NHS. And the only way hospitals got money, they run events so they could, and this was called Paisley Hospital Saturday Fun. It wasn't in Bashaw Park, but it was one of the parks near there. And we played, John and I, and a lot of other kids. And at the end of it, the judge said, "I can't split you two, you'll need to play again." No, I'm 11, okay. But John, 12, 13, more wise in the ways of the world than me, he started objecting and saying, Anyway, there was one of the officials there, I didn't know that at the time, but this guy had listened to what was going on. So we played again, and the judge said, "I still can't split you," out with a coin. And at that, the boss of the whole event had arrived there. Oh, he was furious. "You're not going to settle the competition with a toss of a coin." "Well, what am I going to do then?" "You'll give them both first prizes."
Oh, so you were joint winners then?
So there were 2 firsts and a third that year,
So we must be kind of approaching the time of the Second World War. Did you play much during that time? Was there not really an opportunity?
Well, I would like to tell you about Gus MacLeod, who was Donald McPherson's friend. They were in several.
Right, yeah.
And Gus became the piper. He was a good piper, but nothing in the same class as Donald. I should mention that Donald and Gus used to give me lessons on how to chat up women. I was 14 or 15 about this time. Oh dear, it was hilarious. Anyway, Gus was the pipe major of the Bartlett Hurls Home Guard pipe band and said, "I worked the Bartlett Hurls. You'll need to join them." No, "Oh yes, you will." So I was in the Home Guard, 15 years of age. And you might like this. It used to be called the Local Defence Volunteers, and it changed to the Home Guard. It became better structured. And after about a year, they decided to have a battalion inspection out Bearsden way, somewhere like that. And the Glasgow Shepherds were appointed to provide the music. So we were all standing there. And the Glasgow Shepherds, there was Ginger McLean, Smoke Marshall. I never knew his first name. Smoke, he was always Smoke, this guy. Willie Bell, Eddie McCardle, Robert Leach, best piper in the band by a mile. He's a pupil of my father's. Incidentally, when the war started, well, the war had started obviously, but he called up, never came back in, unfortunately. Anyway, we are playing, and the general or whoever it was wandering about, and there was 4 groups of guys came to the pipe. "Well done, pipe major, that was wonderful, Oh, thank you very much, sir, that's my father." And he was pipe major in the 5th, 6th HLI during the First War. And he said, "I've got a favour I would like to ask you." "Yes, anything you like, sir." And he said, "I would like you to play the Garden of Old God." I'd never heard of it. How did anybody else? "Oh yes, sir, certainly. I'll get my lads to do that." "Right. Thank you, men." That's me. I'm 14 or 15. I was 15 at the time. So Bobby McGregor, who was the leading drummer, he said, what type is it? Oh, I don't know, just join in. And off we go. And then I said, wait a minute, there was a pipe major and the pipe sergeant, a guy, Bob McWilliams, he was old, he was 25 or something like that. He smoked a pipe even. And they were playing and we were just producing pedal accompaniment. I think that's the best way of putting it. But we were pretty smart and pretty talented, most of us. So we began to join in the chorus and within a very short time we were playing the whole tune. And it's only one part or something like that. Anyway, the guy finished and comes up and said, well done, Prime Minister, that was absolutely wonderful. Yes, thank you ever so much. He said, the way there was only one or two pipers playing and gradually it grew to a crescendo was excellent. And Archie says, yes, it's a new method I'm trying to introduce into piping. And we all looked at one another and produced the Glasgow double positive. Aye, right, you know.
So, the war had happened and it had finished. What was the crack with piping then? Were you doing much or?
Well, I had my pipes with me in the army. I made a mistake. I should have joined a pipe band in the army. I didn't. I kept out an awful lot of talk. You know, I might be walking better than otherwise. But I played my pipes in Germany, France, played them in Lebanon, Syria, Transjordan, Palestine, you name it. I played the pipe. When we were in Lebanon, we were in Beirut, and it was us and Gurkha soldiers that were there, and the Gurkhas heard me play. Gee, they thought it was absolutely wonderful. They were all my size, and some of them had tried to get into the Gurkha pipe band and hadn't managed it. Oh, a wonderful time with them. Anyway, when it was all finished, I came home. Why, that was pretty sad. I was playing at an engagement somewhere, I think it was somewhere up the Florida side. I didn't have a car. On the bus, went there, did my stuff, came back. On the bus again, and it was getting near Oran Drive, where I was going off, go down to Partick. On the single-decker buses in those days, there was a wee rack above the seats. No pipes. Somebody pinched my pipes.
Somebody stole your pipes on the bus?
Pipes that my father gave me. He gave me his pipes when I was 10.
Right.
Henderson's Ivory Mountain. Absolutely wonderful. Anyway, that's me out of the game. Eventually, I got another set. Now, another important thing in our family was education. I left school when I was 15, and we had been, we weren't educated, we were being trained to work in shipyards. It was true. So I started night school when I was 15. It was probably name it as the evening classes, but we called it the night school. 3 nights a week, Glasgow High School. When I was 17, I was doing an ordinary national in mechanical engineering. The exam was at the end, was in May. My birthday is 6th of March, and I was a soldier at the halfway through March. So I didn't get this. Anyway, let's get back to it. Out of the army, I'm not getting pipes, I'm still working hard at education. I got a qualification from Glasgow Tech, which is the Strathclyde University. I got one from Paisley Tech, which is Paisley University now. And the last one I did in 1972, I got a postgraduate thing from Glasgow University. And about that time, my brother, who was very, very keen on the McFie clans and stuff that I was talking to you about, he said, there's a gathering of the clans, how about playing your pipes? And I said, aye, okay. He said, what do you mean, aye? He's a big lad. What do you mean, aye, okay? When did you last play your pipes? I said, I played at Roddy's wedding, his oldest son. He said, that was 6 years ago. That's how often I played pipes at family gatherings and weddings.
So you were mainly kind of concentrating on your career, so the pipes were just a wee engineering. Right, okay.
Because that's the thing maybe I should mention now, I never ever played in a professional competition. The rows I had from people about that, one of them in particular, Seamus McNeil, you should have played in professional because you would have known your worth, unquote. I said, so I could say I'm better than him and I'm better than him and I'm better. That's not my style. I play the pipes because I like it. And if I get money from playing the pipes, it goes to charity. There's stuff about it in the book.
Yeah.
And we folded up it. Anyway, I played pipes at the gathering of the clans, Sucky Hall Street, big hotel there, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, morning, noon and night, so I was looking for excuses to play the pipes in.
Right.
And I discovered that the RSPBA run classes.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know it. I went and I had an audition with John McAllister.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people hated John McAllister. I hope we've got time to tell you about it. And he said, all right, play something. And I played, you're in.
Balmoral Highlanders.
2-3 bars or something like that. Right, you'll start there, but I said, no, I want to start in the elementary class, elementary, intermediate and advanced. Don't be sad. He was a lot of swear words. He was quite a guy, John. So eventually I convinced him. So I did start in the elementary, and when it came to, the class was from September until May. When it came to December, I was told, but Jim Warwick, you sit your final exam next week. I said, no. You sit your... Anyway, I sat it and I did the intermediate from January onwards.
And when was that? What years was that, roughly?
1980 something.
Right, okay.
And I did the advanced class. I did the whole lot. I was quite happy about that. It was excellent. And then I did the instructors thing.
Yeah.
Then I did the adjudicators. And about that time I was invited by McAllister and Warwick to join them writing the new books, Structured Learning for Pipers and Drummers.
Yep.
And that took years. I worked along with a pair of them in the language. Wow. I worked a shipyard, I was pretty good at it, and I'd been a soldier for a while.
So you led the way, you led the troops in the flavourful language then?
Anyway, the arguments. Now the thing I liked about it, nobody ever went in the huff and said, I'm going home. It was all argued out, right, we'll have a vote. Now there's stuff in the, I don't believe it. There's stuff they don't believe. But when I get to McAllister, why, judging? And that was it. Off comes about that door over there. Hey Bob, what is it, John? How many bees and rubbish? He said. Now they hated this guy because he wrote down what he thought about them. They never read the column at the bottom.
No.
And down at the bottom, he was always constructive. I thought he was a great guy. He said, if you do that, it will improve, you know.
Yeah.
But I never ever looked at him and went, so and so said about us. And he was right. A lot of people don't know, but he was an organist, a cracking piano player. And of course, eventually I was made the president.
And how long have you been the president for now?
About 30 years.
Right. So you've done a good shift then?
I've done more than a share, I think, you know. It's a job that a lot of people don't like, you know. For instance, we run outings, people don't realise that. We go places in addition to meeting on a Friday. One of the things that we do is, haven't done for a few years now because of the COVID, was to the Army School of Piping.
Yeah.
Went to the Army School of Piping and it was Captain Sampson. He now plays solo.
Yeah.
I can't remember his first name.
Stuart.
Anyway, when it was finished, I said that was very enjoyable. I said, there's not a trophy for whoever, the guys all get certificates, you know. A trophy. I said, nah, this is the best piper. Oh, I hadn't thought of that. I said, would it be inappropriate if we provided a trophy. Well, you know, that would be lovely. Next year I went there, and the army had produced trophies.
Yeah.
At that size.
Uh-huh.
Ours was that size, you know, and they were a bit embarrassed. So were we, actually. So we gave them that, and also we had the following year we gave them a trophy for the best drummer, and then the best dancer. Not bugler, because that was the drummers who did that anyway. And we had a long association with them. They really looked after us exceptionally well when we went there.
Bob, it's a quick 20 minutes and it's hard to cram 90 plus years worth of history into that, but the stories and the kind of knowledge that people can pick up is going to be brilliant, so thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.